I recently watched a movie called The Escape, and it's about a married couple with two kids in England. They live in the suburbs and they have a regular family life. The story mainly follows the wife and her day-to-day activities and how she feels about her life. And I was kind of really intrigued by this movie because I felt like the whole movie was a huge what if scenario for me. Like, if I had kids, this is how I would feel. And it was very telltale of what I felt inside that I already knew, which is why I don't have kids. Throughout the whole movie, the wife just looks very dead inside. She's very boring, bleak, unanimated, expressionless. She just looks like she has a lot on her shoulders. And it's not even that her kids are particularly rowdy or bad. Her kids are fine. She takes them to school and she plays with them a little bit in the beginning of the movie, but she doesn't seem fulfilled. There's a couple of different instances in the movie where just through her actions of breathing or blinking or just looking a certain way, she expresses very well the internal thoughts of somebody who had kids because she thought she had to, or thought that, oh, the next step in marriage is children, so I guess I should just do that. It doesn't go into detail a lot about her background of before her and her husband met, and it doesn't show anything about their marriage before that. It just starts off with her and her husband and their two kids, who seem to be around early elementary school age. She hasn't had kids for very long in the movie, but yet she's already looks like she's been through a war on her face. She just looks so distraught, and distraught in a sense of this undercurrent inside of her. Not that she's acting out distraught, like she's not running around screaming, telling everyone how unhappy she is, but she wears her unhappiness on her face. It's very, very, very clear to me that she didn't want this life. There's one particular scene in the beginning where she drops her kids off at school and she walks through the hallway and she's finally by herself because her husband has gone to work. When she leaves the school building and she steps outside and she stands off to the side because a whole bunch of other parents are walking by her just going along with their day. They seem perfectly fine, but she seems like she's just so tired and so unhappy. And she takes a moment, steps off to the side, and lets out this huge exhale. And it's almost like she's been holding her breath for the entire morning since she got up and had to make breakfast for her husband and her kids and then take the kids to school after playing with them. She's been holding her breath for the entire morning, so maybe 3 or 4 hours. It felt to me in that moment like she can't breathe when her family is around. That really hit me because I have felt like that's the exact reason that I don't want kids, because I feel like if I did have kids, I would have to pretend that I was happy, pretend that what society told me to do was my choice, was my actual reason for happiness and all that stuff. But it's not true. In this movie, in her case, it also wasn't true. She just looks so unhappy, and I really related to her character. I knew I made the right choice when I decided not to have kids because I just felt like the look on her face was exactly the same look as I had when I was in the cult and they had forced me to give up my individuality and everything that I liked for their purposes. Yeah, I'll put a link down below to the interview I did with another YouTuber, and he interviewed me about my experiences in the cult I was in. Tangent, if you want to watch that and know more about the cult I was in, you can do so. Otherwise, we can just continue on with this video. The husband in this movie is clueless. I can tell that he loves his wife, but he doesn't really love her for her. He loves her because she's a good wife and a good mother, according to him. In one of the scenes, he takes her out to a restaurant and she's looking very dejected. Well, that's a word, I think, dejected. You just look like you're off in your own world and you don't really care what's around you anymore because everything around you hate. She's sitting in the restaurant with her husband. She's looking very dejected, and he takes her hand and he says what he thinks are nice things. And on the surface, they may be, but it's not something nice to say to a woman who didn't want kids. Because he says, you know, you're really beautiful, and I love you, and you're such a good wife, and you're such a good mother. And the reason these things are not compliments to women who don't want kids is because, aside from the beautiful one, but like, it's because you only see me as a wife and a mother. You don't see me for the woman that I am. You don't see me for what other things I can do and what other things I contribute to the world. And I think that's how she feels. She feels like she's nothing, like she's invisible, like she doesn't know who she is anymore. I could tell that she did not, because he says that stuff to her and she doesn't respond because she doesn't have any emotions, really. She's just numb inside. He doesn't understand why she's so distant, and she can't tell him. In this movie, the husband is the one that likes the kids, and I can tell that he was the one that wanted them. She just had them because of societal pressures, I suppose. There's all these lies that people believe, and it's not that babies are bad, and it's not that children are bad. Like, that's not the point of this movie. The point of this movie is that not all women like babies. Not all women want to be mothers. Not all women feel fulfilled doing these things. Now, the majority of women, I will agree, do want these things, and a lot of women get sad when they don't have kids. This movie is not about them. This movie is about the somewhat fringe, I guess, or just very few percentage of women who think like me, who want to do something else. So, the husband, he is nice enough, but he doesn't understand his wife. And then there's a scene in the kitchen when she's just cleaning stuff because she doesn't have, she just cleans and cooks, and the kids are at school, and so her husband comes back from dropping the kids off at school because she didn't want to do it. Because at this point in the movie, she stops kind of caring about anything. He comes back after dropping the kids off, and he's trying to get her to talk to him. Because he asks, like, what can I do? What did I do wrong? What can I change? And he's like, do you want to move? We can move houses. We can, like, but nothing he can do is going to get her to talk to him because she can't tell him what she feels. And that's really, it's like she's been silenced because society says that women love children. Do you have a time machine? No? Then you can't do anything for me. Why? Because what I really want is to go back in time before we had kids, because I never wanted my life to be like this. So the husband buys into the lie that all women are fulfilled with children, so why aren't you happy? And the other person that buys into this lie, which is really discouraging, is her mother. The wife goes to visit her mother, and her mother is rude enough to say, oh, it's just a phase, everyone goes through it, you'll get over it. And she's just like sitting there. She says absolutely nothing to her mom as far as like, I don't like the kids or I can't be a mom or anything like that. She because she can't, again, because, people are like, well, who says that? Who believes that? That's stupid. No one believes that. And it's like, when you're getting told that what you think is stupid and no one believes you, you're not likely going to voice your opinions. So, but what she does say to her mom is that she does want to work. She wants to get out of the house a little bit, and and maybe that's her solution. But her husband doesn't seem very supportive, because she mentions going to take art classes or something, and he gets really mad when she tells him how much it costs. He just can't understand why she wants something more than what she has. And so going back to the mom's like, well, you have 2 cars, you have a house, you have a husband, you have 2 kids, they're in a nice school. I mean, you have everything. Your life is perfect. It's like somebody telling you that your life was predetermined because you are a woman, and because you are a woman, you will like children, you will love your husband, you will be happy with all the things he provides for you, and that's just your life. And that scene really got to me, because the camera zooms out, and after the mom says, well, you just have everything and your life is perfect, we see the wife, and she's just like hunched over in her chair, because her and her mom are sitting on the patio, and she's just like, she looks down and she's like, this. And I don't know that her mom saw that, and if her mom did, she didn't give a fuck, which is just insulting in my opinion, because it's like, if you love your daughter, you want her to be happy. You don't want her to be fake happy, or pretend that her life is great just because she has all the supposed happy things. So then the movie continues, and halfway through, the wife decides she needs to leave. That's why it's called The Escape. She goes to Paris, and she just gets some alone time, I guess, because she checks into a hotel, she goes, eats out at a restaurant, she goes to a museum because she likes art. She's just trying to figure out what is going on with her, but I think that she knows what's going on with her. I think she left because she couldn't deal with her husband and her mother constantly knocking this idea into her that she has to be happy, she has to be happy. I feel like I could tell that she was thinking that I'm not fulfilled, and you constantly telling me that I should be fulfilled makes me feel like I'm not correct, like I'm broken. And that was impactful to me too. So in Paris, she turns her phone back on, because she's had it off because she wants to be alone. And then she gets all these voicemails from her husband and her mom, because they're worried about her, which shows to me that yes, they do care about her, but at the same time they don't care enough to try to understand her. So she gets this barrage of voicemails, and it kind of becomes a little too much for her, because the next scene kind of goes into this hinting that she thinks that she might want to jump into the street in front of oncoming traffic. That is very powerful too, because it shows me that she felt like she had no way out, because when someone doesn't understand you and all they do is try to convince you why you shouldn't be the way you are, it really hurts your heart and it hurts your soul, and it makes you feel like you have no options. So, but then the movie doesn't end there, and some random French woman driving by takes her and lets her sleep on her couch, and she has a talk with her about pressures of having to appear like you want the typical things that every woman wants when you're a woman who doesn't. From how the movie depicted it, it seems to me that the French woman was either single or she didn't have kids, and she was telling the wife that she understood about all the things that the wife was going through. So the wife finally gets somebody who understands her, at least. She ends up calling her husband, and they meet where she's at, and she gives him a hug, but then they don't end up back together and then the last scene is her in like an apartment or something of her own, and she's got like drawings on the wall, so she's finally gone to do her art stuff. That's the end of the movie. And so it's kind of this unwritten scene probably where she probably does tell the husband like, well, I had a mental breakdown because I never wanted this life. So, either let me go, or if you make me come back, I'll probably run away again because I can't live like this. So, it was a good movie in trying to tell the perspective of a very small percentage of women who often get misunderstood and just, I don't want to say yelled at, because I don't think that people have bad intentions when they tell you women should have children, women like children, you'll be happy if you have children, it's the hormones, you'll change your mind, they're different. It's different when it's your own kids, and all the things that people say. I don't think they're trying to be mean. I just think that they have fulfillment from that. And when they have fulfillment from that, they want other people to have that fulfillment, but then sometimes they forget that not everybody's idea of happiness and fulfillment is the same. Just because it makes you happy doesn't mean it's going to make me happy. I think the big takeaway from this movie for me was just that. Everyone's idea of happiness is different. And just because more people do things a certain way, that doesn't mean that everyone wants to do things that way. There's always going to be women that love children and love babies and want lots of them and are perfectly happy being moms. But there's also women in the world who are going to be more happy doing things for themselves. So I also saw a scene from Grey's Anatomy about this topic of you can't change somebody's mind who doesn't want kids. And so there's two characters, Christina and Owen, and they're dating, and Owen wants kids and Christina does not. And he keeps trying to change her mind, and she keeps saying no, and eventually they break up because you can't change each other's minds. You can't change Owen's mind, and you shouldn't want to. You can't change Christina's mind, and you shouldn't want to. Like, I feel like the respect comes when you realize that you can't change the other person's mind and that maybe you shouldn't be together. And I know marriage is about compromise, but this topic is way, way too tied to individuality and identity. I want to take that word back. I don't want the left to fucking make me hate that word because it doesn't mean a bad thing. It just is getting too played with lately. But so Christina has a dream where or a nightmare, I guess, because she's sleeping and she dreams that there's this prestigious award for doctors in the show that she's always wanted. And so I think it's called like the Harper Avery Award. And she's been working towards that her whole career. In her nightmare, she's married to Owen and they have children. Owen's really happy and she's not so happy. Then time flashes forward in her dream and she's an older woman and her kids have grown up, and her kids, one of them has become a doctor, and her kid won the Harper Avery Award, which is the award she wanted to win. But she didn't get to because she stopped being a doctor after she had kids. And in the dream, or in the nightmare, she goes into the bathroom stalls, and she just breaks down crying because she never got what she wanted. And that's the result of when you force someone to have children or when you force someone not to have children. Like, they're gonna be unhappy. That's kind of the message of this escape movie, and I really just wanted people to just understand. I mean, you don't have to change your mind about what you want, but neither should I. So happiness looks different for everyone. Just because something makes you really happy doesn't mean it will make somebody else really happy. I really liked the movie. It's a nice perspective into the other side of thinking if you don't think this way. And it's not because you should watch it to change your mind. It's just that it's recommended if you want to see a different perspective, and maybe then not be so enthusiastic when somebody tells you they don't want kids and you pounce on them and tell them all the good things about why you like having kids. Because when I see somebody who has kids, I don't go up to them and tell them why they shouldn't have had them, because that's stupid, because they clearly wanted them. So what is it my business to tell them why they shouldn't? So anyway, I'm just saying freedom goes both ways. I haven't been doing like a closing, I guess. I kind of forgot about it. Let's see, a closing. How about be civil. The only person that has to accept you is you. And everyone's happiness looks different. So I'll see you on the next video.